What is going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today now with another Dark Dimension 6 overview video for finally the legendary section. Now that I've wrapped it up, I've unlocked and had Super Scroll here for the past week and a half, and just been meaning to make this video because although my Dark Dimension 6 guides have not been fully released yet, the fact of the matter is that I love talking about this, especially while this information is fresh in my mind. But as well, just knowing if I could go back, giving you guys the overview of how my attempts were with the legendary characters that I had at the time. So it's crazy, guys. I want to point this out too before I start talking about each of the legendary characters, obviously, the teams I used. Remember, I only use Baby Apocalypse, so I still do not have the materials and resources to bring him up all the way to Big Boy because as you can see, I don't even have the gold right now to bring up the rest of my my horseman teams up to level, I believe, 90, gear tier 17, right? So it's just crazy how if you were able to flip the switch, it is actually in fact faster to focus on Dark Dimension 6, unlocking Super Scroll even before the upgrade. I still am strapped. And then they had the Green Goblin Classic event coming forth here, and now we have Incursion Raids 2 coming as well. So just, always one thing after another, and basically now the Big Boy project is put on the back burner. But honestly, hasn't really impacted my account though, so that's why I want to bring this to your guys' attention, right? So now, if you recall, I used a very, very efficient team, guys, to get through the legendary section, right? 5 really strong, powerful characters that synergize exceptionally well with the fact that I had all these resources and materials available. And it is Omega Red here that I utilized Black Cat. We had Nova for supportive capabilities. We brought in Shuri. And we actually did bring in an OG character like Phoenix. So these were the 5 that we were able to utilize on top of Baby Apoc in the Apocalypse Horseman node. So this is how my total run through went, guys. Mission node here, as you can see, only 2 attacks, did exceptionally well. And that combination of Shuri and Phoenix worked way better than I thought. We have attack 3 here, obviously the same team you can only use, and only being 3 attacks. Mission 14, where you can start finally using Apocalypse. So this is fun because I could slot in and switch around Shuri and Phoenix, sometimes even bringing both of them. But I found that having that extra character was really, allowed opportunity to pivot, be able to, obviously adapt to the round, adapt to the enemies that came about you. Maybe you needed Shuri's defense up before a wave of attacks. So even for that one, only 5 attacks, not too bad, right? And keep in mind, guys, only Baby Apocalypse is used here. And then last but not least, this is obviously probably either the hardest or second hardest node in all of Dark Dimension 6. I did not expect this to be a cakewalk, but as you guys can see here, at the time of recording, right before I did the final attack, 11 attacks in, so it did take a total of 12 attacks to get through it. Now, I would argue, if you had Big Apocalypse, and if you had maybe a different team, you could probably get the last node done in maybe 4 or 5 attacks. So honestly, if I may, my conclusion for the Big Apocalypse is impact versus Baby. You're only probably saving about a week or 2 at most in Dark Dimension 6. Whether or not that's worth it, up to you guys, right? I'm gonna put a link in the description below for my full analysis on that too, guys, because I do really enjoy analyzing this comparison, especially being one of the few content creators that got through all of Dark Dimension 6 with just Baby Apocalypse. Now, guys, having said that, taking a look back at all my sections now, and now that you can see what my total attacks have been, which is 2, 3, 5, and obviously the last node requiring difficulties, are there changes that I could have gone back in? Are there adjustments I could have made? Obviously, hindsight is 2020. With Green Goblin Classic's event around the corner, and keep in mind, I've almost had Super Scroll now for 2 weeks. So obviously, if we had Green Goblin Classic, I think he could have easily slotted in either Phoenix or Shuri's place. Just because obviously statistically he's better, his kit's good, but the only downside is you should wait for his event for him to get the red stars, and add those additional shard fragments for him, bolster him higher. But without a doubt, Green Goblin Classic now is a Dark Dimension 6 lock character. Heck, I would even argue that having the supportive capabilities of Doc Ock in those final nodes is huge. He can provide a lot of support, extend negative buffs, and the fact that he's comboed up with Green Goblin Classic being 2 superior 6 characters, when he utilizes his special ability here to summon his Misting Sinister 6, likely being Shocker, they're going to be able to bring in some value, especially having that synergy of being superior 6, right? So I definitely see that dynamic now changing. A great recommendation I've heard is for the last note, especially now that we've seen what the attempts look like. Morgan Le Fay absolutely puts a huge dent in that final node. So if you guys have the Mystic gear, if you guys have not brought in a lot of Mystic characters for Dark Dimension 6, I mean, without a doubt, Morgan Le Fay would be a huge addition on that team. Slotting in either, Phoenix's place, Shuri's. Yeah, heck, I would even argue Nova, because some of Nova's cooldowns were so crazy that I didn't even need Nova in some of the attack attempts. So just for context, right? I think Morgan Le Fay is definitely one of the best options. I've heard amazing things about Red Hulk. The only downside, guys, is that if you do, huge disclaimer, if you do bring in Red Hulk for obviously the final nodes, great addition, but remember, he shares Biogear with Super Skrull. So by bringing him in, you may even potentially be limiting your opportunity to bring Super Skrull to gear tier 18 right away. So just something to be mindful of. Other than that, something else I've also noted as well, and I didn't have the gear, unfortunately, is that Nick Fury is absolutely amazing. His supportive capabilities, the fact that he's still relevant in the incursion rates, and we're likely going to be using their Invaders team for, not just the release of Kraven that we just saw here with his, not Kraven, Spider Slayer's showcase event having relevance with the Invaders, but as well, likely using them in the next incursion rates too, right? So Nick Fury has immense value. Bringing him up to gear tier 18, you would not be, losing out on using him in other aspects of the game, just because he has such a strong kit, great supportive capabilities. He's basically a stronger version of Shuri. Downside is he doesn't really provide energy, but his minions do so much work. It's absolutely unreal. And then Adam Warlock, actually, surprisingly enough, being a Mystic character, like I said, if you're needing and your gear is just abundant with Mystic gear, he can be a good option as well, just because he has a lot of good supportive capabilities with the stun, the ability block, having that revive for himself to be able to better sustain himself. The only downside, like I said, is if you are planning to bring on Morgan Le Fay, they share the same Mystic gear, right? And then everybody else that I have not mentioned, they're just not relevant, guys. So even characters that aren't in the meta, like Magneto and Rogue, I just would not recommend it. Both sharing mutant gear, and as well, there's rumors down the grapevine that there might be another mutant team coming. So they have great value in terms of their initial abilities, but then their cooldowns are just way too long, and they don't have that sustained value. So going back, guys, would I be able to make some adjustments and changes? For sure. Like in my time run that I'm doing right now, I'm likely going to bring in Green Goblin Classic. Doc Ock, I'm considering it just because he's tech as well, but also the opportunity now that I do have enough gear to bring in Morgan Le Fay. So I feel like Green Goblin Classic and Morgan Le Fay are likely going to be my good additions. I don't think it was a waste of materials though, however, for Shuri and Phoenix, because they've made my respective teams now better, either in other aspects of the game, such as War, Blitz, and so forth, and as well, the fact that these two characters, again, allowed me the opportunity to gain about 2 weeks having Super Skrull now and being able to start my Dark Dimension 6 run again. And at that time, I didn't know when Green Goblin Classic was coming out. So in hindsight, it is 2020, but I'm pretty happy with what I've done. I'm glad if you guys are following this route, or before you're considering it, this is definitely a viable team. You just need to be patient. You need to be strategic with some of the attacks. And again, my guides detail that if you do use those 5 same characters. However, I would caution you, just because we do have better characters now, like Green Goblin Classic, Doc Ock's Energy with Superior 6, and as well, knowing that Morgan Le Fay is an absolute beast in Dark Dimension 6. So there you guys have it. This wraps up my final reflections for Legendary section. Overall, I've made similar reflection videos on all the other sections if you guys are interested. But, happy gaming, guys. Thank you as always. I really appreciate you following me on this journey. Now, all that remains is just releasing the rest of my guides, which are finally almost all edited. So I'll have that in the coming week here, guys. So thank you as always. Do appreciate you guys following along, and let me know how you feel about my teams and so forth. Love commenting back and forth. Thank you, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.